Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm Mary Eggert, founder and CEO, actually co-executive director with my colleague Frank Slavenik, who you'll hear from in a moment, of GlobalWaterWorks. And we're here today to connect, collaborate, and celebrate success in the water sector. We wanted to just briefly go over the background and update on GlobalWaterWorks, and then we're going to focus a deep dive on sustainable water projects that are driven by great leaders in the developing world. We'll have small group breakouts after that, so you can dive in deeper and meet your colleagues talking about NextGen engagement or the developing world projects or how we advance technology. And then when we come back at a quarter after, at the end of the breakout discussion and the panel presentation, we'll share what we've learned and the action we're going to take in a rapid fire sort of summary and toast the progress that we're making. The opportunity in front of us is huge, and what we have on the horizon, you can think about actions you might want to take. We're leading water journeys, and we're seeking partners who have already solved specific areas of the water issue. We're also going to be rolling out a Water Leaders Hall of Fame, and we're seeking reviewers or people who know of the folks that we should be connecting for that. And then we have new partnerships with the water marketing initiatives that can help you all with Scranton Gillette Communications, H2O Global News, and Beth Bay Communications. And also Maria, who is on the call here, is a writer, and Donna. But we are so thrilled with all of the talents and abilities you've brought to this call, because we have been fishing in the water sector. It's about as far advanced as the 1980s for most other industries, where until COVID, most people didn't want to be digital, many of people on paper. So we're thrilled that digital technology is allowing us all to come together. Even we have our furthest guest, I think it's you, Dave, from South Africa, but we may hear of more today. And our vision is that we are, in fact, solving the global water crisis in this generation. Most of you have said the technology exists, but to help you remember what we're doing, we put together this acronym, solving, because it really captures what we've seen as important, that we're working with smart water across the One Water sector, using leaders to provide a 360-degree view through this platform of innovations. And we have many innovation hubs involved here, and new financial models that will ensure global access for all. I'd like to turn it over to Frank to talk about the technology we're doing. But first, I just want to mention each of you comes from a unique sector, and you know the people who are in the tech area may be innovating, or you know the people in government. But in order for water projects to go forward, we need to know everyone. We need to know the regulators, we need to know our end users, and the different corporates that could fund. And this is a beautiful ecosystem model I credit Will Sarney with. And what we have been focused on, I'll let Frank just explain, because we come out of the tech sector. And Frank, you might be on mute. Or I guess I will cover Frank's part. So he has been working diligently, sharing all of the different technologies we know work. These are advanced and mature technologies. We hope to introduce a innovative technology platform. But if you have solutions that you know need to be in here, and we're adding some of you who are on this call today in here, what we want for everyone is to be able to see the technology, a bit about the company, be able to link to a case study, and that's all available that you can scan, you can search. And so let us know if there are solutions that are not listed there. And as we said, together, once we bring the technology together with the people and the processes in the community, we can make this all happen with ease anytime you want to come in and access. And many of you have been doing that and creating wonderful profiles. So in order to be accessed in the community, we encourage you to click. There's a right-hand link to your picture where you can fill out your profile and provide a means like a Calendly or an appointment setter or a LinkedIn link so that people can get in touch with you. And once you've completed your profile, the goal to be a thought leader is just begin to contribute to the community. And reach out and encourage people to meet with you, arrange a phone call, or just share thought leadership and ask questions. It's really been a vibrant environment, and I want to commend all of these relatively new members of the community who will be speaking today, whom if you go in to download the deck here, you can actually click right through and become a follower of Cyrus and Donna and Rodney and Lena. And with that, I'm going to actually, I'm going to turn it over to them in a minute. I just want to give you a full view of the agenda. And in the first 10 minutes, we're just giving you this overview, but then you can reach out to these organizations who will be discussing. And then 40 minutes in, we'll go into the small group breakouts, and you can pick the project that you want. And then we'll come back, as I said, for the rapid fire recaps. But I am thrilled to have Cyrus here. We connected on a Clubhouse chat, and he was widely respected by everyone. And he's going to introduce Lena. And he is actually a professor at the University of Scranton and working as a fellow on a developing world project in Uganda. And also Donna will then introduce Rodney. She is from the Peace Engineering Project, which we were so fortunate to learn about through Rajaram, who is also here on the call. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and invite you, Cyrus, to share or introduce, if you would, Lena and how you came to meet her, and then we'll have Lena share about the piece about the World Youth Parliament. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mary. This is fantastic. And I like meeting Mary on Clubhouse. I also met Lena on Clubhouse. And so, in fact, I can't remember, Lena, can you remember the first room? I can't recall anymore where it might have been. It probably was a room you were hosting or something. I can't recall, but.
I honestly can't remember. I feel like things go so quickly now, especially on Clubhouse.
Yeah, so we owe all this collaboration presently to Clubhouse, this app that's now available for Android as well. But it's a wonderful opportunity just to converse with people around the world. And you get to hear, like, often if you're not speaking, you get to listen to people speak and take in their stories. And so I just had the opportunity to listen to Lena, look at her profile. And since I teach at a university, I just thought her work was fantastic with respect to the North American Youth Parliament for Water. And we can say more about her. She's got her profile there if you want to look it up, but she has an MES in Sustainability Management, or is a candidate, I see, at the University of Waterloo, specializing in water governance. And she's passionate about environmental governance, policy, international development, environmental education, and outreach, the Sustainable Development Goals, and youth engagement. And she's already been generous enough to meet some of the people in my network at my university. And we're trying to get her organization connected to the University of Scranton through our environmental studies program. And it's also already been amplified. She's in connection with Charles 222, who's got this organization that he's bringing water solutions for filtration systems to the world as well. And we're all in conversation about how to do this, not only in North America, but also in Uganda, where I do some work. So really, I'm just here as an amplifier of her work, and she's the one you should listen to because she's the real superhero in this work. So I'll hand it over to Lena, and please look her up, follow her work, and keep her in your loop because she's networking and tethering together all the universities, young students, and I'm considered an elder in her growing world of water policy and her water posse. So Lena, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you for those very kind words. It definitely sets a stage. There's a lot of pressure now. But as Cyrus and Mary both said, I'm Lena Timberg. I'm one of the co-founders and the Canadian co-president of the North American Youth Parliament for Water, which is essentially the North American franchise of the World Youth Parliament for Water, an overarching organization in many countries around the world that focuses on having youth ages 18 to 35 achieving Sustainable Development Goal 6, so all about clean water and sanitation. So the North American Youth Parliament for Water was started about a year ago, and we're a full functioning nonprofit now, both in Canada and the United States. And while we're under the umbrella of the World Youth Parliament for Water and we follow some of their bylaws, we essentially have almost complete autonomy to create any projects that we want. So we've done this in several ways. As Cyrus said, we're connecting with universities to try and really engage members within both the undergraduate, graduate, or PhD level to start taking their research and their work and disseminating it to the general public, because often there's that gap between once you publish research publish research, where does it go? And often it's in databases. It's only accessible to other academics sometimes. So a big portion of what we're doing is getting that out to the general public in things like blog formats or webinar series that we're running. But we're also running a few other projects. We're starting on June 12th, piloting the North American Cleanup Challenge, which is essentially to get anyone, you don't have to fit in within the age category of 18 to 35, but we're really trying to get people out into the general public and just doing some local cleanups. Many of us started going out on more walks and just getting out due to the pandemic. Sometimes that's where I'm in Toronto, you can only meet people outside in small groups. But with that comes the increase of garbage and disposable masks and disposable gloves, and it doesn't always make it into garbage bins. So we did a very mini version of this last fall in September 2020. And we did it in Toronto, Canada, along the Humber River, which is one of the major waterways going into Lake Ontario, and ended up picking up 60 kilograms of garbage. People had just thrown bags out, there were barbecues, there was just about everything there. So we're now taking this and we're running the North American Cleanup Challenge with the hope of also doing another version in the fall. But this will be June 12th and anyone can join, even if you're just on a walk and you want to pick up garbage, you can do that. We've connected with a few apps that allow you to monitor what you're picking up and compare it with other people in your area and across the continent as well. And then we've also started the Columbia River Basin White Paper Program. So my background is in water governance, as well as a few other members. They're in water governance as well. And with the Columbia River Treaty, currently under renegotiation, we noticed that in the current renegotiations, often Indigenous nations are not considered, or they have observer status on the Canadian side, but my latest knowledge is on the American side, they don't have that status. So they're not included in the renegotiation process. And many of the people who are on the renegotiation team were also on the original negotiation treaty and the development of that project. And so a big portion of what we're doing this summer is we've hired 3 fully funded researchers who are graduate and undergraduate students, both in Canada and the United States, to essentially do a document analysis and interview people who live in the basin to analyze how the renegotiations could be improved based on the limited knowledge that we have of what the current process is like, because it's all closed doors. And then they will be publishing a white paper in the fall to share that those perspectives, bring new voices to the table of a youth perspective, but then also help those who are currently not served by the treaty get their voice out. And I believe we'll be sharing that with the US State Department and then some other Canadian politicians on that side. So that's a very broad overview of what we're doing. But thank you for listening.
Very good.
Yeah, very good, Lena. And people can note their questions in the chat. I did have a question. We talked briefly about the leadership role that the Peace Engineers have taken and your understanding of the role leadership plays with your youth groups. Can you talk about that and your view of what's needed to solve the global water crisis in this generation?
So I think we have a lot of the technology to solve it, but I think a lot of the global water crisis is an issue of mismanagement and a need for different leadership styles. I think there does need to be that youth perspective. I'm 26, so I'm slowly edging more towards 35 and not being able to be a member of the Youth Parliament for Water. But I think there does need to be that perspective, because I find when I look at more of my parents' generation, often they learned one subject in school and it was very siloed. And there's not as much collaboration or innovation, especially when they were studying. But now universities are really taking a different approach, where they don't want you to just specialize in something. They want you to do a major in minors or double majors, because everyone is recognizing the need to have that knowledge sharing and that cross-sectoral development. And I think that's the biggest way we can solve the issues, is we need to get people into a room together, but also there needs to be new spaces and that innovation to expand and to allow us to really solve the leadership issues and create sustainable solutions.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful that you provide those projects, Lena. And can you tell us who we should refer to your organization?
Honestly, anyone between 18 and 35. So while our leadership team all has some background generally in the environment or in water, some people have an aquatic conservation background, others are focusing on water and health. If anyone's passionate about taking action, they don't specifically have to have that background in water specifically. We will invite others to join our general membership. We are very small right now in terms of our leadership team, so our projects are quite limited. But at the same time, if people wanted to, if they were passionate about something, they wanted to start organizing cleanups and make the North American Cleanup Challenge a much bigger thing than it currently is, we're always willing to listen to that and take people on and have people start new projects.
And I would add to that, Lena, you mentioned to me and to university folk that it gives people an opportunity also to do some kind of almost apprenticeship, right? To learn some other skills. So if somebody wants to do some social media work, or they want to learn how to write, or any kind of small projects that would involve that interdisciplinary, multi-angled thinking, that Lena has an opportunity for people to do that. So I think that's a good way to make it appealing to somebody, as not just volunteering, but also learning some skills that allow people to then be immersed in the kinds of projects that you're all concerned about. So I think that's another added element.
That is, just quickly to add in, that is something that as a graduate student, something I have found and many others have found, is you need the experience to get the job, but the job is the thing that gives you the experience. So while we're completely volunteer based, we are hoping that the skills that we can offer, whether you're on the leadership team or project development, whatever it is, can provide you with experience and just extra things to add on your resume that will help land you those jobs later on.
Yeah, well, such an inspiration, Lena. Thank you for joining us. And I let Lena know that they can have a group within the Global WaterWorks community. We're hoping they'll hang with us. So everyone, we encourage you to make them feel welcome. Send Lena your recruits, and we look forward to what the discussion reveals as you and Cyrus dig deeper in a few moments. And we are going to turn it over to Donna. Donna, I know you're going to introduce Rodney and the work that you're doing with Peace Engineers first. So along with Ramiro's work, if you could.
Yeah, I think what I will do, okay, I'm Donna Koechner. I'm the program manager for the Peace Engineering ECHO project, which is part of the Peace Engineering Consortium. I'm based at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque, but what I'm going to do is turn it over to Ramiro Jordan first. He is Associate Dean for International Programs at UNM and is one of the core people in the Peace Engineering Consortium. Ramiro?
Thank you. Sorry, I'm dealing some student issues here anyway. Yeah, but anyway, thank you, Mary, for inviting us. Let me bring you up to speed of what this peace engineering concept is all about. In 2018, November, we organized the first Global Peace Engineering Conference. This was in association with all the Federation of Engineering Education Societies and the Global Engineering Deans Council. This was a challenge to the world to deal with the 17 SDGs and the 14 National Academy of Engineering Grand Challenges. It was a challenge. We wrote a thought-provoking paper to challenge the world to help us define what peace engineering is. There's many efforts on peace engineering. It was started by Professor Wieselend 15 years ago. But I think everybody has been working on peace engineering. We just needed to connect the dots. So we challenged the world. We had over 500 participants, 44 countries, industry, the labs, of course. And if you position yourself in New Mexico, this is the birth of big science. Los Alamos, Sandia, that were one lab, now there are two. And challenge the world. Peace engineering. What does peace engineering mean to you? And it's not about engineering. It's about changing the mindset of all existing disciplines. And we need to create new disciplines to address the global challenges. We're all in this together, independent of your national anthem and flag. In that event, there was a panel organized by the national labs And one of the scientists from Sandia predicted a pandemic. This is November 2018. The flags were there. And she said, okay, we just got to get ready. How do you get ready for something that you don't know what's going to come? So, and then a year after that, sure enough, we all found ourselves in the pandemic. And personally, I think something good is coming out of this. We need to reimagine, re-engineer every model that is out there. Finance, supply chains, water, energy, violence on the rise, inequality is on the rise. How do we deal with transportation issues? Everything needs to be, and this is pretty much all the topics that the Peace Engineering Consortium has been working since November 2018. We meet every Friday and we address these things. We're trying to come up with a body of knowledge for peace engineering. To summarize what just happened 2 days ago is, as a heads up, University of New Mexico and Sandia National Laboratories are creating the peace engineering biome here at UNM. It's a global think tank. And we have already the interest and commitment of several other national labs. And this is open to everybody. With you, we would like to work on water systems, energy systems, telecom systems. All these systems need cybersecurity. So everything now is intertwined. So thanks to Mary and Frank, who invited us to be part of this community. We want to work with you. We don't have the solution. We're trying to find the best solution, and it has to be context smart. We want people to be street smart. What works in Uganda does not work in Kenya. What works in the Navajo Nation, New Mexico, does not work with the Laguna Pueblo, also in New Mexico. So context smart is very, very, very important. And like I said, this is open to all disciplines. We want to work with people in anthropology, with people in history, with people in economics. I mean, with all of you. I mean, each of us will bring a piece of the puzzle and we need to put it together. So like Bernard Amadei, the founder of Engineers Without Borders, said at the conferences, what Ramiro has done is he had this box of jigsaw puzzle of 10,000 pieces, and he dropped the pieces on the floor. Now let's put it together, and now let's solve the problem. So thank you, Mary. I hope I conveyed what we're trying to do.
Yeah, we are so excited to have you here and to know of your movement and to support it, Ramiro. So Donna identified our community enables that collaboration, and Frank and I are happy we don't do the work. You guys all do the great work. We can just showcase and connect. So we all have a role, and that's one thing we're going to ask you to think about. I'm going to put a poll up here to give you guys the chance to respond on the role that you would like to have. But I am very excited because Donna said you guys have a working solution in response to 2 weeks ago, we met on water quality and talked about the need to address global water quality. And then all of a sudden, Donna raised her hand and she said, I think chlorine can play a part in that. And Rodney Herrington is here. And Donna, if you could just share why you introduced Rodney to us, and then Rodney's going to talk about the role he's playing based on the opportunity to address the death through water that's not clean across our world. So.
All right.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Donna.
Okay, so yeah, I'm excited to introduce Rodney Herrington. He has been working with us from the start with Peace Engineering Effort and Peace Engineering Echo. He's developed, as a backpacker and an outdoor person, I love what he's developed because it's a handheld chlorine generator, which all you need is this little solar handheld device plus salt and water, and you get chlorine. And so he has this scaled to large projects that can be run off of generators or off of solar. And he's been helping the Peace Engineering Echo and Peace Engineering Effort from the start. So I'd love to introduce Rodney Herrington.
Yeah,
All right,
welcome,
Donna,
Rodney. You can share. Let me make sure if you come up, I'll just permission you for sharing slides. I think you can.
Okay, let's see if, how's that?
It looks
That's
like,
full screen?
yes.
No, it's not. Let me get to it. How's that? Okay,
Perfect. And if you could, I think we
I'm
gave,
gonna take it to the, hide the presenter view. How's that?
that's doubling up.
There you go.
Okay, is that working?
Winner, winner.
Yes.
Okay,
Perfect.
so I've been in the electrolytic business for 25 years. I was one of the founders of a company called Myox, which was electrolysis of chlorine, electrolysis of salt, saltwater brine to make chlorine, and we commercialized it. I left there 10 years ago and started Aqua Research. And my focus is on chlorine and getting chlorine into the hands of people in the developing world and other low-income applications. So the problem is there's 1.8 billion people who don't have access to safe water. A lot of patients and healthcare providers in low to middle income countries do not have access to sanitation products. So there's the supply chains are sketchy in a lot of areas. And so, chlorine has gotten real scarce last year. There were actually countries that were suggesting water treatment plants not chlorinate their drinking water so that healthcare facilities could have the chlorine. And that would have created an even bigger problem. But in any event, it's a big problem worldwide. So chlorine is one of the greatest health interventions in history. In 1908, in the United States, we started chlorinating our drinking water. The life expectancy at the time was 47 years. And by 1940, we were chlorinating almost most major cities. We had eradicated typhoid and cholera. And the life expectancy in those ensuing years went to 63, a 16-year increase, primarily off the treatment of drinking water. We open our taps today, there's chlorine in our taps. If there's chlorine, there are no bugs. EPA requires chlorine. Chlorine is the only solution in drinking water that maintains a chlorine residual and keeps the water safe in storage. So UV, ozone, filters, none of those. They can sterilize the water instantly or whatever, but they do not keep the water safe for long-term storage or handling. So it is the standard that every major health organization in the world recommends, from World Health Organization to CDC to UNICEF to you name it. They're all strong proponents of chlorine. So chlorine is our focus. Now we have a range of products. The little unit on the left is a little 8-ounce device, and it's solar powered. It's got a rechargeable cell phone battery in it. You can USB charge it as well, and it'll treat up to 20 liters at a time. Treats 300 liters on one battery charge. So that's equivalent to 10 gallons of water treated per day. And you can do that for 10 years continuously with this system because you can recharge it 500 times. And so 10 gallons a day for 10 years. And the price is 50 cents a year in just salt. And salt's ubiquitous, everybody has it in the world. So there's really nothing else you need to make your water safe other than this little device. So we developed it when we realized that all the technologies existed that would be useful to somebody in a developing world where they wouldn't have to continue buying things. They wouldn't have filters to clog. And so it kills bugs. Bugs are what's in water. There's dirt in water. Dirt makes it look dirty, but bugs will kill you. So we're after the bugs. We're after what will kill you. The next device is Stream, we call it, and it's a briefcase size unit. It produces a little over a gallon of disinfectant at 0.5% concentration every hour. And so this has been deployed in a lot of different healthcare facilities in Africa, in Haiti, and it's can be solar powered, 110, 220, car battery, just about anything. And you know, it produces a lot of disinfectant. It'll disinfect water at a rate of about 230,000 liters a day. So it's very handy little device. And we designed these devices to be designed for abuse rather than use. For instance, the device on the left was originally developed with funding from DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency for the military. And you can drive a car over it, you can freeze thaw, shock vibration, and all those things. The next unit over is a 3 or 5 kilogram per day of chlorine, you know, 1.2 to 2 million gallons or liters of water a day. And the device on the right is a larger system that we have installed a number of those in Haiti recently. Just started the fifth one today up in Port-au-Paix, Haiti, and that's at healthcare facilities. They're Cyrus Foundation out of Dallas has got USAID contract to improve sanitation and training in 168 healthcare facilities in Haiti, and we're supporting that with chlorine with these systems. So they don't have to rely on sources of chlorine, whether they're liquid chlorine or solid chlorine, hypochlorite, whatever. You can make your own with just salt. So this is an application with Catholic Relief Services in Burkina Faso and in Africa. And it's being used to generate sanitation products. And it's a hub and spoke model where a central hospital is making quantities of chlorine, putting it in 1 gallon jugs, and they ship it out to all the little small remote healthcare facilities. So they've got access to chlorine. And chlorine access to it has been a big problem in Africa with COVID last year, particularly. Got scarce, and then just logistically moving it. And then commercial bleach degrades. This stuff is fresh, made whenever you need it. This system here is a system in Haiti, in a hospital. That's at Lakai, and it's another one of the big systems down there. So it generates a lot of chlorine, and you can treat, you know, millions of gallons of water a day if you're trying to just do drinking water. It's got other applications in cooling towers and aquatic swimming pools and other things. All of these systems are set up for IoT, in other words, Internet of Things. They all communicate. The little stream system is, if you get near it with a cell phone, you can download through Bluetooth or Wi-Fi the data out of the system and then automatically transport it to the central facility, for instance, PATH out of Seattle or Catholic Relief Services, where they can do all the data collection on the quantities of use or how it's operating, all those type of things. Right now, they collect all that data manually, and it's very sketchy. This will automate all of it. And these systems you can see here, the stainless unit, I can monitor that from my desk right here in Albuquerque. So we've got a variety of products. Our focus is on low and middle income countries. And that's what we're trying to do, is get chlorine out there to save some lives. We have some other products in the pipeline. The Survivor system on the left is a 5-gallon jerry can with an ultra filter. As an ultra filter, it's a very tight filter, and the little black thing on the left is a hand pump. It's like a sprayer. You just load the tank with water from a river, lake, stream, whatever. Pump this thing up about 10 strokes, and it generates the pressure to drive the water through the membrane filter. The valve is on the lower right. You can't see it in the picture, but it takes everything out of the water, virus, bacteria, protozoa, and all the dirt. So it's instant production of clean water. There is no disinfection in this. It's the only device we have that is not a disinfectant, but it makes the water drinkable very quickly. And the system in the middle is we're developing with PATH out of Seattle and some NGO organizations. Excuse me. And there are millions of rainwater collection tanks, rooftop storage tanks throughout the world, none of which are chlorinated. And so our system is a solar powered little electric chlorinator. It sits up on the roof, makes chlorine, and it measures the water entering the tank. And as water enters the tank, it adds chlorine to it. So you have disinfected water in rainwater collection tanks, rooftop storage tanks, community tanks, whatever. So, and the unit on the right is just a carafe. It's about like a small coffee maker, and it'll do a volume of chlorine for, 500 liters treated per application. So we've got a variety of different things in the works. Anyway, that was that's the presentation. That's what we do, and we're excited to join this organization to help, spread the word and get the technology out there where it can help people.
Well, and Rodney, I think this group knows we typically don't have such a obvious product pitch, but because you're working with the Peace Engineers and you are actually going for funding, a $2 million round. So if people, I just wanted to mention that if people want to participate in the rollout of these proven solutions, I think I wanted to make them aware of your work and your 25-year history working in concert with the government to develop these. But Rodney, could you also just tell the success you've had with the Peace Engineering Group? What would you attribute that to?
Well, actually, we do quite a bit of work with UNM students through Romero Jordan and his organization. We've been working a number of years. They're looking for senior projects, and we're, of course, looking for help getting these products developed. So we get the latest thinking in these young students, and they help us for a semester or two to help develop a control scheme or something. We use both the electrical engineering group and the marketing for marketing resources. So I've known Romero for some time, and they got started with the Peace Initiative. I got involved with that, and been doing some other things with some other organizations through the connections with Peace Engineering. So.
Yes, awesome. So good to be reminded of the value of that collaboration with universities. So important to tap their expertise. And we have another expert here, Steve Levy, who I know your organization is working with Blessing International. Rodney, Steve worked for Opportunity International, was a former CEO for me, has raised more than, I want to say it's 350 million. It might be more than that, Steve, you can correct, but he's both an advocate of microloans and impact investments and has a solution. So Steve, if you could give us an update. I think we have about 3 minutes here and then we'll go to groups. And if anyone has a question, you can address those in the groups, but we have a few minutes here. We could ask them here.
I have one. Could you provide a link to the technology showcase? And this is a selfish thing, but I would like to maybe go through that with Darren later, some other time,
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I would say it's exciting to see what Rodney's doing. We're trying to address developing nations' need for clean water in a different way. Vivo Blue has created and patented a removable filter that allows it to be cleaned without using backwash. And so we're working with a lot of NGOs around the world where you have a double bucket system that work directly in someone's individual home. We work a lot in India in the slums and in Kenya in the slums. And so this would be a 2-bucket system that sits right in someone's 8x10 home and allows them to get filtered water through a barrier system using hollow fiber membranes. And but we've been able to figure out how to create it so that it can be cleaned without using backwash. And so it's been fun, and obviously it's been exciting to be able to help people around the world.
Good stuff.
Yeah, great. Well, Steve, so glad to hear again the example of innovating within the communities. I think is so important, and that's what we're going to address. I'm thrilled Frank is here, and he has been instrumental in helping to develop that Water Tech Showcase. And Frank, if you could maybe add anything you want on that and what we need from people, but also explain the small groups, and then we'll go into those breakouts.
Okay, so I put the link in to the tech showcase in the chat. One thing you forgot to mention about Steve is we're very, very excited that Steve has agreed to join the board of GlobalWaterWorks, and we're very excited to have Steve Levy joining our board. It just happened in the last few weeks. So we are extremely excited. So the tech showcase, very straightforward. When you go into it, you'll see it. There's 101 or 102 companies in there. You go in, it's a fully searchable database, put in a word, a problem or anything, and it'll bring up the companies in the database that have a solution to that problem. And in each company, there's a background on the company, their products, a case study on them, a video presentation. So these are all companies that have products that work. And the tech showcase, of course, is in Global Waterworks community. You're all
Thanks.
welcome.
Thank you, Frank.
Welcome to go there.
Appreciate that. Yeah,
So
thank you.
next we're going to dive into groups, and we're going to have, let's see, Shannon's going to lead the engineers. Cyrus and Lena will do the NextGen group, and I will take the technology group. So with that, we will go into groups, and then Mary will signal us when we're ready to come out in the groups. Please take a minute, literally less than a minute each, to introduce each other, and then lead the discussion and make sure everybody has time to participate. The leader, please take notes. Mary will call for a summary when we get back together. Okay, we're ready to go.
I'll give you a 5-minute warning, and just if you go into the wrong group, you find I volunteered you for the wrong place, just come back to the center. I'll reassign you, but I think I have it pretty close. So you can exit and you'll see a note pop up here in a moment. So I'm opening the rooms and you'll have 30 minutes, and then we'll call you back. We'll give you a 5-minute warning. Enjoy.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
How do you get into the groups?
You click down below the bottom, it should show you something. Do you see a link? Dave, let me make sure I assigned you to the tech group. Let me see. I'll reassign you. What do you want? Do you want the tech group? So you went on mute. So
Sorry, yeah, to Frank's group, if you can, please.
okay, yep, you're going right there.
Thank you.
Yep, have fun.
Got
it. Me too. Where do I go?
Oh, okay. Oh, Doug, hi. Nice to see you. So do you want tech, NextGen, or
NextGen?
Okay, I thought so. Great. I'm sending you there.
Thank you.
Great. Have fun. Good to see you. And
good to see you. I'm going to talk to you after this.
Perfect. Great. Okay. And Sam, I'm putting you in leadership on environmental. Is that good?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. We want to talk too. You're an awesome board member too. Thanks.
Oh, like this?
And Elizabeth, hello.
I apologize to all those in our group that we cut off at the end there.
Oh
But it
my-
was a great conversation. Thank you, Cyrus, as you brought forward. It was a very good summary that conversation is great, action is required. And secondly, one of the things we do in the tech showcase is we have specific case studies, as you identified, where people can say, this is how it worked for us. But very good dialogue. I'm sorry for stealing it from the whole crowd. Go for it, Mary.
Yeah, well, great to see you all in action. I wish I could have stayed in each one of the groups. I did just pop up a poll. We create these events to support you, and there might be things that you'd like to see, maybe a wish list for what it would mean to be in community. If you could share that in the chat, or share it with us personally if you have suggestions, because we know there are lots of people doing cool things across the water sector, and we want to make sure it's always worth your while to come, because we greatly value all of your intelligence and believe the wisdom of the crowd is what enables us to advance. So I'm going to end this poll, and it looks like there are a few people who want have a few other things. Let me see, I'll share the results here. So looks generally good, but welcome your other ideas. And I have another poll just here on what your role is in the water sector. Love your participation. Global Water Doesn't Work by Frank and me showing up at our little online site. As you know, each one of you is advancing certain projects, and we'd love to have you, if you've already completed a journey and seen success, you're welcome to use the community to advance that. And what we do now is we'll have you all show your bright, shiny faces. If anyone who's off camera can come on camera, we'll do a screen grab. So we have a record of today's program. And Bernard, that's so cute, the sideways guy. So.
And hey, Darren, thanks for showing up, man. That really, thank you for that. I appreciate
Yes,
it.
Great to see Darren.
Great to see you, Darren. Great to see you.
Thanks for the invitation.
Okay. Smile, guys.
Oh, you're gonna take a 30
Yep,
bucks
we'll
each?
do one more just in case anyone was looking the other way. Okay, one more smile. Yep. Okay, got all your names in there. Good. Okay, so what we want to do is a quick recap, maybe the three people from the groups. Cyrus, why don't you start off? We'd just like to hear what you generally covered, and any recommendations you have for the rest of us to learn about NextGen.
Yeah, we shared, Lena had led by asking everybody, how do they engage young people? And so people answered wonderfully with that. A lot of discussion about mentoring and leadership. And then Frank also mentioned reverse mentoring. So it's something to consider in the process of talking about what that looks like and means. And then Raj shared also about really encouraging, in his mind, becoming responsible citizens. So really accenting the way that water usage is a citizenship question. And for all of us, we can encourage people to be more mindful of their water usage so that they become empathetic citizens. We also then discussed some of David's initiatives in Kenya, where he's working with schools and 4 schools on entrepreneurship clubs and inclusive entrepreneurship to create value for not only creating businesses on the ground, but also incorporating STEM and the arts, maybe more appropriately STEAM, since the arts are involved, as a way of encouraging more buy-in from community members. Simon then shared a lot about his work, especially you should all know about the podcast that they run out of Waterloo from students. It's Ideas Without Borders. So he can maybe share that again if you don't have it. And it's just a really cool source for inspiration, mentorship, synthesizing knowledge, and getting them access to interviews with experts around the world. So if any of you want to be involved in that, ping Simon. And he said in particular, the students there look every 4 months for internships while they're in their schoolwork, and they're mandated to do so as a consequence of their work. And so, Lena, what else did I miss out? We were ending on a different conversation.
We started bringing the question of art into the water field and how that could really engage youth, but also is there a place for greater involvement of art?
Wow, and was that part of Doug arriving in your group?
Yeah, we talked about NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and how that we had a discussion about how that's been an animating idea on Clubhouse for getting money to local communities. So.
Beautiful group. And if anyone has comments, I'm going to have you share right after the group recaps and your individual ahas if you have them. But STEAM, just want to mention, that's a 1 extra degree of heat applied to water, and it can power a locomotive. So the idea of adding art, it sort of awakens everything. And it's a very exciting concept. So we're glad to have Doug join us, who created the Think Water exhibit you can see in the community. And turn it over to Shannon now, who's been an amazing facilitator for us, leads Colorado initiatives to drive forward reuse. And she's helping to create the National Reuse Action Plan, which is an incredible collaboration of more than 100 organizations. So Shannon, what happened in your peace leadership group?
Yeah, we actually had some excellent sharing of an exchange of experience that really, I would say all of it was centered around water quality, sustainability, and I'm going to throw data in there because I feel like that was an important part that kind of wove itself through. But there is some of the ideas expressed were that data is a great way to understand long-term trends and actually also to build support for your project. It can also be a way of demonstrating accountability. So those were some key things there. Another big piece that really came across from all the work of our participants is that when you talk about sustainability, it can have a few different meanings. But one of the key things that came across is that ultimately sustainability in communities is the adoption by the local community and that they carry it on in a way that is appropriate to them. So you have teaching, you have training, you have passing the baton of knowledge in a way that creates a healthier local community. Additionally, we talked about sustainability as it relates to the environment. What do you do with waste products? You create clean water, drinkable water, and you have byproducts as it relates to desalination, for example. And at the end of the day, how do you dispose of them? So those are some of the big picture ideas that came out. I actually would love to ask my group here if there's anything that something really stuck with them that I didn't bring up, but they want to give a shout out for an idea that came up in the group.
You did a great job summarizing.
Okay, well then we'll leave it with that. Thank you, Ramiro.
Yeah, very kind, Ramiro. And thank you, Shannon, for doing such excellent facilitation. We appreciate it. And Frank.
So our group was talking about how do we get technology, the word on the available technology out, because we believe the technology is available to solve the global water crisis, but how do we get the word out? And there was, everybody chimed in really good thoughts and comments, and down to the, at the end when Cyrus was talking about, we need to have good examples that people can see that something has worked. And we believe that wholeheartedly. We talked about, politics is going to need to get involved. We're going to need marketing involved so that and there was a couple of things that started to intersect here where getting marketing involved, and then how do people come together? Oftentimes people come together on a crisis. And so the way, certainly I saw that was you get marketing in a crisis, and now you've got people outside of water that are going to be given a voice in the solution on water. And we talked about gatekeepers. All the time the gatekeepers are not in water. They're someplace else. Maybe the people in water report to them and so forth. So good conversation across the board. Does anybody else that was in the group have any comments? Certainly I missed a lot of them, but go for it if you have any. The microphone is open.
I guess one of the
Ed,
things
that's the
we
first
Some
time I
people
heard
who
you.
are on mute. I saw Victor trying to say
What was
something.
it? What was that, Frank? Oh, I was saying this is excellent. It's good to be back after my hiatus, man. This is awesome. I missed it.
Good. Victor, did you have something there? You're on mute. Maybe you didn't. Okay.
Make sure I'm unmuted there. Yeah.
There you go.
What I saw after our conversation kind of wrapping up at the end, you know, the idea of what can we do with water and trying to have a solution and you know what this group is trying to accomplish is huge. It's probably one of the largest, most complex problems that you can imagine in the world. And I think it's going to take you know, from listening, it's going to take an approach that comes from a lot of different areas. There's not just one solution.
That's right.
There's going to be marketing. There's going to be politics. There's going to be examples. There's going to be small projects and large projects. But just one observation, I think probably a good thing for this group to do is if we could put together some sort of a matrix or a structure that at least gives an example of what does that look like.
Perfect.
You know, and take it from conversation to structure, and then start, you know, sampling or have, you know, implementation. So it's a process, I guess, from a logical point of view.
I just want to also highlight something you said in the group, Victor, which is that one of the challenges in terms of getting the message out is that it's a challenge getting the attention of the entire world, you said, before it becomes a fear issue. We talked about how with a crisis and with fear-based messaging, you can get people's attention, but I thought you distilled the challenge of getting people's attention before it becomes a fear issue was a good way to distill it.
True. Very true.
I see Lena nodding, and we want you to mentor up, Lena. So what else do we need to know before you leave?
She's muted.
There you go.
I think there's just so many amazing thoughts here. I know there was talk about us all connecting, and I think that needs to continue on, because when you have spaces like this, as soon as you leave the Zoom call, they can quickly die out. So if there's, I think GlobalWaterWorks is a great place for us all to continue connecting. And I see there's bi-weekly calls, which will be fantastic to continue joining.
Great.
You know, guys, one thing, because I'm that energy engineer, is if the grid goes down because we band-aided it together, then we can't pump to gravity feed water anymore. And that implication of that alone blows me away, you know? Sorry.
The electric grid in the United States was designed by Thomas Edison. Think about how long that's true. Think about how long that ago was done.
Yeah.
Well,
Ramiro
okay.
said we need new systems, but I'm grateful, and I'm just going to raise a glass. If anyone has a glass, I just want to toast all of you who are making water work, and we thank God for the opportunity to be able to innovate with you. So cheers.
Thank you,
for
Mary.
Progress and actions.
Thanks, Frank, too.
Thank you all.
Yep.
Yeah.
GlobalWaterWorks is open to interns.
Yep. And hey, and you saw the poll results. If anyone wants to hang out and share action steps or learn how they can do anything more, Frank and I will remain on the call here, but really appreciate your contributing. We'll put the recording up also in the community, and a special thanks to Cyrus, Shannon, and Frank for facilitating, and to Donna and Ramiro for bringing us the wonderful information with Rodney, and to Cyrus for introducing Lena, and y'all come back. So
You're so good at this, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.